Okay, so the first thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna pick your image. And if your image is longer, you're going to go for the longer formatted paper. If your image is square, you will go for the square paper. Once you've done that, you need to fold your image in half, and then fold your image in half again, so that we divide it into 4 quadrants. From there, you're gonna take your Sharpie, and it's a little difficult to see, but you're gonna trace the lines that the folds made to get your 4 quadrants. Okay, so basically 1, 2, 3, 4. The next thing you're gonna do is kind of identify the center. It's right there. And then just put that to the side. And what you're gonna do is divide your paper. Now you can measure it out if you want to. My paper is 24 inches wide. So I'm just gonna kind of go to the 12 and make a little mark in a couple of places. And then I'm gonna divide this paper in half. And I'm gonna divide it in half with a color that is not going to be something that I don't wanna see later. So I think I'm going to use this little mint green color. I could use a pink, really anything, but just something that's not going to be not in my picture. It's kind of hard to get a point here, but I'm not gonna make a hard line, but just a line. I'm gonna do the same thing with it the opposite way. So it is 18 inches, so that's gonna be 9. Let me get this paper off here. It's not working for me. So it's gonna be 9 and 9. And I'm doing it in a couple of places just so and not just one place, so I know where to line up the ruler. And it's okay that I'm getting some like chalk dust on here. That's not gonna hurt a thing. Okay, so basically, once I have that, I'm gonna number that kind of like the corresponding 2, 3, 4, just kind of to give myself a reference. And then I'm gonna go to my photo of my flower. Now my flower center, the center of my flower, happens to be close to the center of this paper, slightly off. And I'm just gonna start looking for the shapes that I see. So that first dark little shape that I see in the middle, and I'm just gonna use this green. I could, like I said, I could use white, I could use pink, but I've got that little dark shape in the middle, and then I see like some little oblong shapes around that kind of start to just branch out like that, okay? Then I'm gonna start to move to those shapes that look like they have a little bit of a point, like that. And they almost look like little half moons that come around, but you are working out from your center point. Just kind of working out. And it doesn't matter if they're exact, like right there, that's not exact, but I'm gonna just get one there. And then I'm gonna start working down with some of these larger ones. And what you don't wanna do is just kind of randomly throw them in there. You do want to stay as close as you can to what you're seeing in your image in terms of size. Notice that with succulents, they tend to get bigger. The shapes will get bigger. And because the little points are like turned down, a lot of times what you just see is the little half moon shape, and then it kind of comes in like that. So right here, this little shape, I mean, it's just a little, almost like flattened oval with a point on it, but then I can see that it comes down. It kind of reminds me of drawing a pine cone. They kind of do the same little thing where they come in like that. And I'm just gonna keep working my way out to the center, from the center to those other regions that kind of start to really come out like this. And as they come out, they tend to flatten out some. So like, for example, this one, it's flat like that, and then we see that little curved half moon shape. But the one behind it, I'll just push this way, the one behind it is just gonna come off the edge of the paper. This one here, we've got just a little up, half moon shape. And then this one comes up and we see like the entire like oval shape. And I would just keep working around, kind of trying to find my shapes and get them hooked together and branching off to the edge of the page. So I would keep doing that. Really trying to pay attention to the staggering in space. So this overlap that's happening, and also the extension of these large shapes, which look really nice and start to make it look more like a succulent, which is what we're trying to go for instead of a flower, because succulents are these fleshy plants that have these really thick fleshy leaves, and that's what kind of distinguishes them from looking just like a flower. Okay, so now I've got my image and I've got my succulent. So the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna choose colors. So I'm gonna kind of just start with a petal that you can see really clearly, and you know, kind of work on it. So I'm gonna work on this one, which is actually kind of far out. It's here. And I want you to see, let me push that where you can see it, how I'm going to color that. So it's in quadrant 2. And when I look at it, I notice that it's got some kind of like olive green that I'm gonna make kind of dark. And you may have to mix, so that I don't really have the olive green that I'm looking for. So I may have to mix a little bit of gray or a little bit of black to get that, and that's fine. I've got a light green that's kind of a mint, and again, I don't really have that color either, but I can make it. So this is gonna build on your knowledge of color theory a bit. I've got my white there. I'm going to need a little bit of hot pink. I see a little bit of orange and a little bit of peach, which I could just do with just the orange and white if I wanted to, but I'm just gonna pick out all the colors I need. I see a tiny little bit of a yellow right there, so I'm gonna grab this kind of yellow ochre color, which I think is gonna be right in there and right there. And I feel like that's gonna be what I need. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just lay down what I call the base of the color, but since I don't have that olive green, I'm going to make it. So I'm kind of just laying this whole thing in right here. And I am going to then kind of mix a couple of colors to get it. I feel like if I mix this yellow ochre, I will get it, but I'm going to need to neutralize it a little bit. So I'm gonna put a little bit of black because it's really not that intense. It's kind of dull. And then I'm just gonna blend that with my finger. And if it's too dark, that's something I can change in a minute. I feel like it's yellower down here. So I'm gonna like really put some more emphasis on that yellow. I feel like I have a little white area right in there with almost a little bit of periwinkle. And I don't know that I have periwinkle, but I can certainly grab a blue and make it. So I'm gonna kind of push that in right there. It goes a little darker green up here toward the top. So I'm gonna mix some green and black right there. And I'm just kind of blending around. And then I've got kind of a whitish area right here. That's gonna look really pretty. Okay, and I've got quite a lot of yellow on the edge, there and there. And then it kind of hits to this pink color right here. And it goes a little orange around that pink, kind of in toward the yellow a little bit. And for that, I can, if I don't feel like my finger will do the blending as carefully as I need, I can totally grab this cotton swab and do that. And you just kind of keep working your values. Like I want to go lighter there, I want a little more periwinkle mixed in there. I'm just gonna really have fun with that. Okay, and then this next one that's next to it, which is right here, don't know if you can see that, so right there. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in because I'm gonna show you how I create depth. So I'm gonna put that white in. It gets a little periwinkle, so I'm gonna add a little purple to that, right in there, and kind of blend that to make that purplish color. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put my pink on there just to kind of outline what I'm doing there. Okay, and then what I want to show you is how I'm going to make a separation in these two. So I may even do it a little more than it actually shows here. So I'm going to take my black with a little bit of green right there, and I'm just going to push that color, and I know it's white here, but I'm going to push that separation right there. I want this to be lighter here and darker on the petal beside it, so that it kind of pushes this petal back behind there in space. Do you see how I'm doing that? And then you can tweak. Like I notice it's a little more yellow in here, so you'll just have fun with those petals. Blend it out a little more if you need to. You can just kind of blow it off or take it over to the trash can and shake it out. But then you just keep working from there. Like I'm noticing the petals next to it are quite dark green. And like I said, I don't have a dark green. So that would be my green with my black, so that I can make that petal that's kind of coming from behind. Again, it's very dark in here. So I've got my black right now. It doesn't matter if you pick up the green or the black first. And you may have a box of pastels that have more colors than this one. This is just kind of the one that I use with my classes because it's got, you know, enough of what I need, not too much, but not too little. And that's kind of what I choose to use with them. And it works. You can peel the paper down as you need to. That's fine to do. A little more periwinkle. I'm liking that periwinkle. I wish I had one, so I didn't have to mix it each time because it's, just easier. I'm going to take that little hot pink right there and try to focus on what that shape looks like. And then it's got like this periwinkle back in here. Just finding the shapes, and at this point, working shape to shape. I might can even take a little bit of like a navy on there with one of these, with this one. And going in and, don't use your black, don't just go immediately to your black, but I do like how I can make a distinction between the petal that's behind and how it can really like refine your form. But also you don't want to go too dark or dense if your colors aren't dark and dense. And that's it. So I'll finish this one and show it to you in another slide. But that is basically how you're going to work this. And I hope you have a lot of success looking for your lights and your darks, mixing your colors based on what you have learned already. Remember, if you add white, you get a tint. If you add black, you get a shade. If you add gray, which is some black and some white, you get a tone. We learned that before, so you're not going to check that knowledge at the door. You want to bring that knowledge back here with you to keep going on what you're doing. And I think you're going to have a lot of success with this. If you've never done chalk pastel before, it might take a little bit of trial and error, and it is messy. You may want to keep like a wet wipe or paper towel with you, but it's really worth it when you get done. So happy coloring.